I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High.
But in the kingdom, we're going to have that power like the angels, but we're going to be what you call extraterrestrial. In other words, we're not going to be regular terrestrial like we are right now. Because what happened is, in the ancient world, we had that power. We had that power when we were on a level like gods. But what happened is, the Most High took that power from us. Over the generations and over the years, the Lord took that power from us. But we're going to get that back. We get that power back coming into the kingdom.
I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord. But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither hath entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit.
When we think about the kingdom, most brothers think of like the small, minute terms. But the vastness of the kingdom, the greatness of the kingdom, dealing with the knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and the information alone that we're going to receive when we get to the kingdom, that's on a whole nother level. Never mind the riches and the lands and the women and the children, and you be in your chariot, sipping some yayan, on your chalice, your gold chalice with all them rubies and emeralds and sapphires and the different precious stones, going to places.
But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither hath entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit.
No one, no matter how vivid a brother's imagination is, there's nothing in comparison to what's coming. You can't even imagine. You can't even paint it a picture or write it to words or give an explanation that even comes close to the majesty that's coming. We are destined for greatness in the new righteous kingdom.
But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither hath entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit.
The brother with the most vivid imagination out there can't imagine what the kingdom of heaven has in store, what it's going to be like. What we're basing the kingdom of heaven as far as riches and having a good time and things of that nature is just based off of our experiences in this world and what we think having a good time is and living the life is. Thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore. There are pleasures forevermore at thy right hand. So the kingdom that's coming is going to be set up and established in righteousness. The Israelites are going to be changed. Thy people shall be all righteous. Not one Israelite is going to be lost, because the promise that the Most High made to Abraham was to all that seed. And the seed of the promise went from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. Every seed that came out of Jacob is a part of the ones that are going to receive the benefits that the Most High promised to blessed Abraham.
The transfer of rulership is coming, and the kingdom of heaven will be on earth. Righteousness will be spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Wickedness will be put down. According to the Holy Scriptures, Yahweh Shai, the Son of the Most High, is set to bring immortality to the nation of Israel, the elect, via establishing the tabernacle of David, as we talk about the second coming of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. He is coming to take down this current world ruled by Esau, Edom, and establish a righteous kingdom, which is synonymous with the throne of David. That's scriptural, which is a government that's going to run this world in righteousness.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Shai. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Shai. All right, and going into this morning, news and prophecy, dealing with the counsel of fools. Okay, because what we're seeing, all right, is the Lord is putting a foolish spirit on these devils, all right, which is causing them to crash out. And ultimately they had a foolish spirit from the beginning. To even try to pull this off, this whole New World Order, this enterprise, all right, this digital, technocracy, the Greater Israel Project, all right, that's a foolish idea because the Lord, his word tells you his, all right, his will, what he's going to do, okay, and for these devils to try to go against that and do their own thing, bless themselves, hijack the blessing from the true Israelites, hijack the kingdom to come, from Yahweh Shai, to even attempt that a foolish thing. All right. So the Lord has put an extremely foolish spirit on these devils in these latter days. And everything is imploding on top of these devils, man. We're seeing, all right, their agenda begin to implode on itself. All right. And all the devil has left, is to collapse, all right, the economy and attempt to, all right, usher in, okay, a reset, okay, which all of it is going to fail. Everything that the devil has set his mind to do, okay, his intention to do is going to fail, according to the scriptures, man. Okay, so what we're seeing, which, you go into Donald Trump, all right, this nigga here, he's just a logo, okay, he's just a mascot of the pride and the foolishness of Esau Edom. Okay, he's just a fool that we see. But even the elites, they're foolish, man. To try to pull this off, to try to reset the world by starting a war. How foolish is that? Because these nations have real animosity towards one another. They agree, okay, when it comes to the digital system, all of them, all right, want to participate. Everyone is getting their economy, and their infrastructure, all right, prepared. All these nations are getting their infrastructure and their economy prepared to merge into, all right, this New World Order agenda, okay? But there's real animosity between certain of these nations, man, okay? And to start a war, to try to reset, all right, the global, all right, order, all right, is foolish, man, because now these nations are really getting at each other, okay? And this devil not going to be able to manage it, man, okay? The only thing he has left is to try to attempt this MOTB, And like I say, he's out of there, man. So I want to go here because as we go into this war is going to bring about a great suffering in the earth. Okay, especially here in America. All right, America is going to feel all right because see, America's and the reason why America's even now, they're so nonchalant when it comes to war because America has never had to pay the price of war. You know, America infrastructure doesn't get devastated in war. Okay, they're not used to blackouts because of war, massive famines because of war. Okay, America is not used to that. You see, America, is used to watching the war on the news and then going about their day to day. Okay, unscathed. You know, the war really doesn't affect their daily conveniences. Okay, they still get to kick it, party, the Super Bowl, March Madness. See this is the Americans get to go on about their life while American military is abroad causing havoc and wickedness, man. But see now this war is going to hit home. Okay, beginning with the crash of the economy. Okay, which Americans finna be impoverished, man. It's finna be bad times, man. And if things keep trending like they are, okay, now they're escalating more and more. Okay, we're destroying energy infrastructure. Like I say, it's one thing to stop the flow of energy, but it's a whole nother thing to destroy the energy infrastructure. Okay, so America's due for suffering, man. All right, based to all right, the suffering that America has caused, man. And you people have cheered this on for decades, man. Okay, now that it's not going the way it usually goes. Now everybody wants to have a conscience. No, you're fully in agreement because even if America was to turn the tide in this war overnight, all right, it will be cheerleaders. It will be American cheerleaders that will pop out from everywhere. You know, it would just be American cheerleaders talking about how tough the American military is. And, says we just unbeatable and all. They said they will be beating their chest again. Okay, so you Americans are not guilty. I mean, are not innocent, man. Okay, you common Americans, man. Okay, everyone just trying to jump ship because of results that's coming out. Okay, America been going to war for the small hats. This ain't nothing new. Okay, this ain't just start. All right, in February 28th, with America doing the bidding for the small hats. They went to war with Iraq for the small hats. Okay, over 20 years ago. You see, so this is nothing new. All right, but when you go to Isaiah 19:6, it said the canals of the Nile would dry up, and the streams of Egypt would stink with rotten reeds and rushes. See, because matter of fact, let me jump to 5. Yeah, this is Isaiah 19:5. Now, this is speaking of America. It's referring to America as Egypt in this chapter. This is a prophetic chapter. Okay, and speaking of America as Egypt. So it said the waters of the Nile will fail to rise and flood the fields. The riverbed will be parched and dry. Okay, because the Nile was it was a dry place. Okay, Egypt was a dry place, so they had to depend on the floods that will come from the rivers for crops. For a harvest. They would depend on the floods overflowing in the Nile and flooding their fields. Okay, which would water their crops. Okay, that's why those devils, those Egyptians, okay, those Hamites, they worship the Nile. Okay, and when those floods will come, well, that means that they will get, a good harvest when those floods, okay, will flood those crops. Well, now in this time, the American economy, okay, has been used to thriving in the worst time. Okay, America's economy has always been able to withstand the storm. You see, but now we're coming to a time, man, where things are going to start drying up. Okay, because there's an attack on the dollar, which is an attack on the global economy, which we know that the elites, okay, are manipulating these situations, okay, to cause these things to happen. But ultimately, it's the will of the Lord. Okay, the Lord is using the elites, okay, to bring about judgment on the masses, man. Okay, because at the end of this, the elites, they're going into captivity, man. Okay, they're being reserved for captivity. You see, but within their new world order agenda, all right, they want to depopulate. You know, so this is a prime time for them to depopulate. Okay, they want these nations, to destroy each other, so these nations can be weakened. Okay, so they can emerge, all right, from the ashes to rebuild how they want. Okay, with this technocracy. Okay, so the Lord is using, all right, the ambition of these elites, all right, to judge the masses, man, and then they're going to be judged. Okay, verse verse 6, it says, the canals of the Nile will dry up, and the streams of Egypt will stink, and rotten seeds and rushes. All the greenery along the riverbank and all the crops along the river will dry up and blow away. Okay, so it's going to be scarcity in America, man. You know, eventually it's going to be scarcity here. You see, things are going to stop moving, all right, because the oil, the energy, okay, because oil crisis, energy crisis turn into food crisis. Okay, there's a also the fertilizer that comes from, all right, the Persian Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz, that's all right being cut off. Okay, and it's done around the time of what? Of planting. This is the time of planting. Okay, so we know, all right, that the Heavenly Father, all right, is using the elites on the left hand side to bring about, all right, crisis, man, scarcity. Okay, so that the years of enjoyment, okay, the years of abundance, these things are going to come to an end. You see, and you keep reading. It said the fishermen will lament for lack of work. Those who cast hooks in the Nile will groan, and those who use nets will lose heart. Yeah, so the job market is collapsing. Constant, nothing but layoffs are being reported. Okay, and it's going to intensify. It's going to become more and more, especially as energy, okay, this energy crisis, okay, is growing worse. As these things get worse, all right, there's going to be more shutdowns, layoffs. Okay, businesses are going to, because you can't function, man. Okay, and they're intentionally making it impossible for businesses to function, man. Okay. Verse 9, it says, there will be no flax for the harvesters, no thread for the weavers. They will be in despair, and all the workers will be sick at heart, man. It's going to be a very depressing time. Okay, and they want people desperate. They will be in despair. See, the elites want people in despair. He wants people to unalive each other. They want people to unalive each other. Okay, and then just the Lord, all right, like I said, he's going to use, all right, you Americans, you're going to be judging each other. Okay, so the Lord is allowing the elites to create this atmosphere because the Lord wants this atmosphere for judgment to go forth, man. People are going to be in despair. People are going to be desperate. All right, and the elites in their mind, they're going to swoop in. Okay, with the solution, which is the CHIP. Okay, the MOTB. Okay, because this war is going to cause a lot of despair, even before it goes nuclear, man. Before this war goes nuclear, because what they're doing now, they're attacking critical infrastructure. Okay, they're attacking critical infrastructure. All right, which is going to cause, despair. You see, let me look something up real quick. Okay, real quick. In the war to attack. All right, critical, because they're escalating from attacking military assets to now they're attacking critical infrastructure. Okay, which the small hats, they set their precedent when they struck Iran, all right, Iran's oil field. Okay, their largest oil field. All right, so let's go here. Just look this up real quick. So let's go because this thing is escalating by the day. You know, like they're running up this escalation level, man. You know, because most time it'll plateau out and they'll keep the war at a certain, you know, they'll stay on a certain rung for a while, but they're climbing this escalation ladder, man. All right, so when you go into um, what does it mean in war to attack critical infrastructure? It says attacking critical infrastructure in war means deliberately targeting vital systems such as energy grids, water supplies, transportation, and communication networks to cripple an adversary's ability to operate, manufacture, and survive. Okay, and it's escalating to that point. You know, I believe Iran has struck a train. Okay, a train system, which is transportation. Okay, they've been striking Israeli oil fields. Okay, they struck one of the Israeli desalination plants. Okay, which is crucial. All right, for water in their region. Okay, those Gulf area states and those small hats, they depend heavily on those desalination plants. Okay, for for their water supply, man. Okay, so now what we're seeing, they're escalating to, all right, attacking critical infrastructure, which means they're beginning to take the gloves off. Okay, we talked about that before. These now they're beginning to take the gloves off, man. You know, and if it keep going this way, man, it's gonna be chaotic. And you got cyber attacks, you know. So the atmosphere is set for these devils to really to go with their move here in America, man, to where they can sabotage some things in America and just blame it on Iran. Okay, blame it on Russia, China. Okay, and really sabotage some things in America, man, when it comes to critical infrastructure. Okay, so they're attacking critical infrastructure over there. Okay, this can set the stage for, all right, a major black swan event that can cripple infrastructure in America, man. Okay, so read this again, then we'll go back. It says attacking critical infrastructure in war means deliberately targeting vital systems such as energy grids, water supplies, transportation, communication networks to cripple an adversary's ability to operate, manufacture, and survive. These operations aim to cause widespread chaos, reduce military effectiveness, and force capitulation or surrender by attacking societal resilience. Okay? So this is what, you know, they've escalated to in these last couple of days, but you're going to get a little bit of it. But when you go here, okay, let's go back to the book of Isaiah. Okay, so you go here to the book of Isaiah, chapter 19. Okay, it says Isaiah 19 and 10. It said they will be in despair, and all their workers will be sick at heart. What fools are the officials of Zoan? Okay, what fools are the officials of Zoan? Their best counsel, all right, to the king of Egypt is stupid and wrong. Okay, so this devil, all right, he's at the part to where everything he's doing, all right, is going to be wrong. It's going to work against him. Okay, even collapsing the economy, that's going to work against this devil, man. Trying to implement this, you know, trying to reset, okay, the global world order. All this is working against this devil because it's going to it's creating chaos that he can't contain. Okay, see, this devil has become proud to where he forgot that he has limitations, man. Okay, so now, okay, what he's doing is stupid and foolish and it's beyond his power. He's trying to operate beyond his power. You know, AI got him hyped up. Okay, this military got him hyped up. Okay, he drunk off his own wine. Okay, to where he's hyped up, to where he thinks that he has a capability that's out of his range, man. Okay, it says, will they still boast of Pharaoh of their wisdom? Will they dare brag about all their wise ancestors? Okay, because the devil, what does he boast in? Edomites, okay, being superior. They boast in a high IQ, and they're just more capable than anyone. They're just so innovative, and okay, so they boast in, all right, that their lineage, their race is so superior. Okay, but look at the foolishness of this whole agenda, this whole plan, this new world order. So from the elites, like I say, Trump is just the face of the foolishness, and he's the mascot. All right, he's just the goddamn fool that we see. Okay, but the ones that we don't see are even more foolish, man. Okay, for trying to orchestrate this whole thing. All right, trying to pull this off. It says, where are your wise counselors, Pharaoh? Let them tell you what the Most High plans, because they can't account for everything the Most High going to do. In the midst of what they're trying to do, they can't account for everything that the Most High going to do. Okay, so they can plan and simulate and go to the AI and get the data and get this, and they can do all these things, man, but they can never, all right, account for what the Most High going to do. AI can't account for what the Most High going to do. That's foolish. That's super stupid to think that your AI can account for what the Most High going to do. Okay? There's things that the Most High, all right, that he puts in the game that you can't account for. Okay? And we experience that way, not day to day. Now, we can go into these prophecies and we can break things down, but we can't account for every detail that the Most High going to do. And that's what Esau attempts to do with his AI. He in his mind, he think AI, all right, is put the Most High in the box. With his AI, he think he can put the Most High as a part of his algorithm. Okay? Nah, man, the Most High don't operate, okay, in your predicted outcomes, your predictability. Nah, man, the Most High don't operate in that, man. Okay? So there's things that happen that this devil can't account for, man. And when these things happen, it changed the whole trajectory. Okay? It changed the whole trajectory of what this devil is trying to do, man. Okay? And he's being guided to do the will of the Lord. You see? It says, let them tell you what the Most High plans and what the Lord of Heaven's army is going to do to Egypt, man. When he's going to completely destroy Egypt. All right? It says the officials of Zoan are fools and the officials of Memphis are deluded. The leaders of the people have led Egypt astray. So let's go here real quick. All right. And you people have followed these Edomites, all right, to disaster, man. Okay. You people have cheered on these Edomites to disaster, man. Okay. You're Americans, you're gonna get it the worst. Okay. But you follow these devils. Okay, listen to these niggas, voting for these niggas, and Jake thought they were doing something big by becoming Republicans, and so now you got to deal with the backlash, man. Okay, because you went and voted, you made a vow. Okay, you made a vow. All right, because the vote is to make a vow. So you went and voted. All right, you participate in this man's society. You have some type of hope of this society bouncing back. Okay, nah, man, it's finished. Okay, but now you people got to deal with your foolish leaders. The masses suffer under foolish leaders, man. Okay, in Isaiah chapter 19, Zoan this is from the chat, refers to an important city in ancient Egypt. Most scholars identify it with Tunis. It was a political and administrative center known for its rulers and advisors. In the passage, Isaiah criticizes Zoan's leaders as foolish and unable to give sound guidance, portraying a breakdown of wise leadership, in Egypt. why some people draw a comparison. If someone compares Zoan, all right, to Washington, D.C., today, they're usually making a symbolic or rhetorical point, all right, not a direct biblical, all right, equivalence. It says Zoan equals center of power in Egypt. Washington, D.C., all right, equals center of power in the U.S. All right, so Zoan in the Bible can be likened to Washington, D.C. Okay, the place of counsel. Okay, where decisions are made, which we know that the decisions come from above and they trickle down into DC. Okay, but DC is the center of power, okay, of modern Egypt, of spiritual Egypt, America, man. All right, it says Isaiah's critique leadership lacking wisdom, okay, or direction. So the comparison is more like a nation's leadership becoming confused or ineffective, man. And this is what we're seeing. A nation's leadership becoming confused or ineffective, man. All right. And we're seeing this real time. So I got this video I want to get into real quick. Okay. Got a few of them, but let's go here. So let's play this. Yeah, so let's get into this.
It has finally happened. The unthinkable. The thing that Washington insiders whispered about behind closed doors, but never dared say out loud, has now exploded into the open. A full-blown mutiny is brewing within the highest echelons of the American military, and it is aimed directly at Donald Trump. We are witnessing an unprecedented rift between the White House and the Pentagon, as senior Army generals are outright refusing to follow orders.
Top counterterrorism official Joe Kent announced he is resigning as a director of the National Counterterrorism Center in a post.
His resignation letter read, "Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it's clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel."
Kent resigned on Tuesday. When he resigned, he said he disagreed with the administration's handling of the war.
This isn't a disagreement over policy or a memo of concern. This is a direct challenge to the commander-in-chief's authority in the middle of a catastrophic war. The breaking point? Trump's reckless, ill-conceived drive to plunge America into a ground war with Iran. After weeks of airstrikes that have done little but inflame the region, the president wanted to double down. He wanted troops on the ground. He wanted to seize Iranian islands in the Persian Gulf. And according to sources inside the Department of War, the generals looked him in the eye and said no. We are getting reports of a near-total breakdown of the chain of command. It's not just about ground troops refusing to deploy. It's even worse at sea. Commanders of American warships are refusing to sail their vessels into the Strait of Hormuz or anywhere near the Iranian coastline.
كيفك؟
الحمد لله
صايمة ولا مفطرة؟
صايم.
ما شاء الله. شو استيدك على الفطور؟
And why? Because they are terrified. They have seen the intelligence. They know that the Iranian military has developed underwater drone technology that is essentially invisible, silent, and absolutely lethal. The Pentagon brass has looked at what happened to the radar systems, completely destroyed by Iranian strikes, and realized that their multi-billion-dollar ships are sitting ducks. They are not willing to sacrifice American lives and the entire Pacific Fleet for a war that serves no American interest. This is the level of fear and respect that Iran's asymmetrical warfare has instilled in the most powerful military on earth. These generals warned Trump before he launched this folly. They sat in the Situation Room and told him, flat out, that bombing Iran would not be a quick, clean victory. They told him there is no such thing as a surgical strike against a nation with this much depth and this much strategic patience. They told him that Iran's military does not fight by the old rules. They fight with proxies, with drones, with sea mines, and with a population that, while critical of their own government, will unite against an invader. Trump ignored them. He listened to the sirens singing from Tel Aviv, and now he is facing the consequences of his own hubris. The protests outside Mar-a-Lago are growing louder by the day. What was once a fortress of wealth and power is now a flashpoint for public fury. American citizens, many with children and grandchildren in the military, are gathering in the Florida heat, holding signs that call this what it is: a war for Israel, not for America. They are screaming at the gates, demanding to know why their sons and daughters are being turned into cannon fodder to secure Benjamin Netanyahu's regional dominance. And inside, Trump is reportedly fuming, delusional, still repeating the fantasy that Iran is about to call and surrender unconditionally.
Yeah, man. So this devil, is unraveling, man. Okay, because he didn't expect it to go this way. He expected, Iran had capability. They expected it, but they didn't think it was going to be this type of ripple effect, man. Okay, it's having a major ripple effect, man. That these devils, okay, they're losing control, man. Okay, and these devils try to pop up and try to manipulate things like, this is what I meant. These niggas is losing control, man. Okay, the scriptures say he shall be in straits. All right, every hand of the wicked shall be upon him. But brother want to get that, okay, and his sufficiency. So when this devil, because he's been running toward this new world order, man, and he launched this war, man, and now he, it's a whole nother conundrum he's in, man. All right, so you got Americans refusing to deploy, okay, and they potentially made the American society weak as hell. Okay, ain't no warriors. And see, this devil thought that he could rely on AI, and now he's seeing that AI ain't cracked up like it, when it comes to actual war, AI ain't performing like he thought. Okay, so now he needs actual people in this military, man. Okay, but ain't no warriors in America, man. Okay, you look at what you raise. You feminize the men. You emasculate the men. You destroy their testosterone. You chemical warfare. You destroy the men through chemical warfare. Okay, everything that a man does, it lowers his testosterone. Everything lowers your testosterone. You're like, God damn, bottled water, the lining inside your boxers, the toothpaste, this, that is the lower testosterone. You're like, God damn. So now you need men. They ain't there. Okay, you put the woman on the pedestal. Ain't no men, ain't no warriors, man, in America, man. Okay, ain't no warriors, man. These niggas, like the brother said, these niggas are working on their fantasy brackets for March Madness, man. This is the highlight of these niggas' life, man. Ain't no warriors over here, man. Okay. So these niggas ain't finna go to do no deployment. The ones that you make, they just, like you say, gonna be cannon fodder. They ain't gonna turn the tide. Okay, they're just gonna be part of the depopulation agenda, man. Okay, so he saw like I might well just get a depopulation out of it. These certain generals are, refusing orders. Okay, because he's talking about he wanted to force open the Strait of Hormuz, man. They're denying orders. Okay, there's mutiny on the ships. I got a quick clip of that. Okay, they're protesting outside the Trump house. Okay. And it's going to get worse, man, because more bodies are going to start coming back. Okay, it's only so long this nigga can mask the lie, man. Okay, and his actions are not lining up with how they're saying the war going, but their actions are not lining up as if there's someone is winning. Okay, so let's play this a little more.
That surrender, of course, is a mirage. It was always a mirage. It's vanishing in the heat of Iranian missiles and the smoke rising from U.S. bases across the Middle East. If you are just now joining us, I need you to do something for me. I need you to hit that like button and share this video right now. We are bringing you the truth that the corporate media is too scared to print. They are still pushing the narrative of a strong America. But what we are seeing is a crumbling administration and a military in open revolt. Drop a comment, even if it's just a dot, to tell the algorithm that you want real news. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on that notification bell. We are the only ones holding the line for honest journalism, and we need you with us. Now, let's peel back the layers of this rotten onion, because the stench coming from Washington is the smell of treason and corruption. To understand why the army generals are running away from a direct assault on Iran, you have to understand the genius of the Iranian defensive doctrine. This isn't Iraq in 2003. This isn't a conventional army that lines up on a desert and waits to be destroyed by air power. The Iranian military has spent decades preparing for exactly this scenario. They have built a layered, smart, and devastatingly effective network of coastal defense missiles, fast attack boats, and crucially, the unmanned underwater vehicles I mentioned earlier. The Pentagon knows that sending a surface fleet into the narrow confines of the Strait of Hormuz is suicide. These new Iranian sea drones are almost impossible to detect. They can swim alongside a destroyer and detonate at will. The radar systems that were destroyed in the opening days of this war weren't just old hardware. They were the eyes of the fleet. Blinding those eyes was a calculated move by Tehran. They are daring the U.S. Navy to come closer, to sail into the killing zone. But the refusal to engage goes beyond just tactical fear. It is rooted in a deep strategic and moral objection to the entire premise of the war. These generals, many of whom served in Iraq and Afghanistan, know a forever war when they see one. They know that occupying Iranian territory, or trying to seize their islands like Abu Musa or the Greater and Lesser Tums, would be a quagmire that makes Vietnam look like a skirmish. The Iranians have a saying, "You have the watches, but we have the time." They will bleed the American occupation dry, day by day, dollar by dollar, body by body. The generals read the intelligence that says the Iranian people are resilient. They saw how quickly the new supreme leader consolidated power after the assassination of Ayatollah Khamenei. Instead of collapsing, the regime hardened. They warned Trump that if you kill the leader, you don't kill the revolution, you give it a martyr and a reason to fight harder. And who was the loudest voice pushing for this carnage? Who was whispering in Trump's ear that the Iranian people would greet American troops with flowers and sweets? It was the same cabal that has been pushing for this war for 20 years. The Israeli lobby, specifically AIPAC, and the government of Benjamin Netanyahu. Let's be brutally honest here. This is not America's war. This is a subcontracted war for Israel.
The real reason podcasters, publishers, and event organizers say no to speakers, even one.
There is an overwhelming amount of evidence now that the strategic objectives of this conflict are being dictated not from the White House Situation Room, but from Netanyahu's office in occupied Jerusalem. The goal was never to neutralize a threat to the United States, because Iran posed none. The goal was to destroy Iran's ability to act as a counterweight to Israeli power in the region. The goal was to drag America into a war of chaos that keeps the Middle East fragmented, weak, and unable to challenge Israeli expansionism. And the American political system, soaked in AIPAC money, went along with it.
Yeah, man, and ultimately this is America's war, okay? Because they have to fulfill prophecy, all right? So this is America's war, man, okay? But what we're seeing is a collapse. It's just a blowback, and no one wants to hold the ball. Okay, that's why you got people retiring, people resigning, people, disobeying orders, and no one wants to be the one that holds this blame. Okay, and the orders are coming from the elites. All right, the elites sicked America on Iran, man. Okay, because the elites have their Greater Israel project. Okay, and they need Iran destabilized, just as they destabilize Iraq. All right, Syria. Okay. Afghanistan, they need these places destabilized so they can go forward with their agenda. Even if they don't win the war, all right, they want to destabilize. But what's happening in Iran is not being destabilized, man. It's gaining momentum. Okay, and then you have superpower allies that's with America. Iraq didn't have superpowers behind them. Okay. Syria didn't have superpowers behind them. Afghanistan didn't have superpowers behind them. Iran does because of prophecy, because of the will of the Lord. Okay, so let's go here. I want to get this video as well and get this precept too. The water, bro, and the brother can post that too. Ecclesiastes 10 to 16, and that's precept that's gonna come out a lot. You know, Ecclesiastes 10 to 16, man. Okay, but let's me cue up this next video. And then we're gonna get that. Get this shit. Yeah. I meant to play it yesterday. We're gonna operate as I get to it now. Just a quick snippet. But let's go here. This from the brother, you call Hopeful 144, Job 20 and 22. It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits, which is a difficult situation. Okay, so this devil gets to this last few pieces, these last few moves to attempt to transition into this new world order, where the scriptures say he should be in straits. Okay, which means he will have a difficult time. All right, and prophecy is on this nigga ass, man. Okay, like I say, he activated that wild boar, man. Okay, and now prophecy is on his ass. You see, it said every hand of the wicked shall be upon him, and the wicked goes into, the worker. Okay, so now, society is raising up against this man, these militaries. All right, because you look at the military is made up of what? Working men. Okay, then you have, all right, protests now against this war. Okay, people protesting in Florida, at Trump's mansion, nearby his mansion. Okay, so the common man is raising up against this, man. Okay, and this devil, and what he's going to do, he's going to lose it. Okay, and when Esau loses wars, he takes it out on the civilians, man. You see, and this devil really, get his ass handed to him in combat, he come and take it out on civilians. Okay, so we know this devil was getting ready to come down with great wrath on the civilian population, man, to try to force this new world order. Okay, so let's play this real quick.
Well, also, it's just impossible. I mean, I don't know what Trump was begging for, but there's no U.S. carrier strike group within 700 kilometers of the Iranian coastline right now. Gerald R. Ford, as I understand, is headed to Greece this week or next. If the U.S. can't even be anywhere near the Iranian coastline, I don't know what they expect that the U.K. or France or Latvia or whoever else might contribute to the equation. But what do you think about that story? There's a story that obviously before the war began, these Marines on the Navy personnel on the Gerald R. Ford were stuffing shirts down the plumbing, the toilets, and trying to clog the toilets, and that's why I got sent back to Greece before the war began. Now they're saying that the fire may in Iran, but it may have been on purpose by U.S. Navy personnel.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing as well. And actually, both of these things are very important. You've got the two carriers, the USS Abraham Lincoln, the USS Gerald Ford, both of them that were basically sent there in order to help and facilitate this war. I mean, these carriers are huge. They're like runways. They're meant to be mobile bases to basically replace actual military bases. They have destroyers on there. They have Tomahawk missiles on there. They have fighter jets on there. So there's two important points. First of all, in terms of the USS Abraham Lincoln, there was 3 stories we heard. We heard that Iran had sent 4 missiles towards the Abraham Lincoln. The Americans denied it. The Iranians said that there was some damage from at least 1 missile. So there was some damage to it. The second time there was 4 missiles sent, we heard nothing from both sides. So we can assume that those were stopped. But recently we heard that the Iranians managed to hit the USS Abraham Lincoln, cause damage to it. The Americans denied it, but then we saw satellite imagery from the Chinese that showed the Abraham Lincoln fleeing from the scene. They were 350 kilometers away, and they're now 1,100 kilometers away. So it does seem to suggest that the reporting from Iran is accurate, and they had to flee the scene. And then you've got the other one, which you mentioned, which is the USS Gerald Ford, which we're hearing that there is mutiny on board. As per what you said, the toilets were clogged up by the sailors because they didn't agree to this war. They know this war isn't for the United States of America and it's for Israel. And then there was a fire which basically apparently 2 sailors got injured, and at least 600 of them had to, their sleeping arrangement was so bad that they had to sleep on the floor because of the sheer volume or the sheer level of the fire that had occurred at the USS Gerald Ford. And so what's happened is because we can only assume, we're not getting direct information from that, but the fact that there's fire, the fact that there's also was a water cloggage, this can't be coincidental. We also have a reporting from Al-Mayadeen that confirms that there was mutiny on board the USS Gerald Ford. So it does seem to suggest that there was some kind of mutiny, because obviously these things could be unlucky, but the fact that these situations are happening, compounding with the fact that those people who are on the USS Gerald Ford, they've been out on sea for about 8 or 9 months, much longer than any kind of deployment that is meant to happen. And if this war is elongated, it means they're going to be out for a very long time. So I think that there is a high likelihood that the USS Gerald Ford, there was mutiny on there, and the USS Abraham Lincoln had to flee the scene because of Iranian attacks.
And this is all prophecy, man. Real quick, Isaiah 43 and 14. Okay, so you got sailors, sabotaging the ship. Okay, supposedly you got these reports of sailors sabotaging the ship so they don't have to, go in the combat. And see, these aircraft carriers haven't been used like that because they're used to being able to park right on the coast, okay, of a nation and just fire off missiles, man, fire off tomahawks from these aircraft carriers and these Navy destroyer vessels, man. But they not been able to do that because they can't get that close to Iran, man. Okay, because of the capability that Iran has to sink ships. Okay, and you have reports that the Ford, and we know that Abraham Lincoln been hit for sure, and there's report that the Ford been hit. Okay, and Iran has several different ways that they can sink those ships. Okay, and pretty much they're toying with these vessels, man. Okay, because Iran know there's gonna be a major escalation. So Iran, all right, is keeping these aircraft carriers at bay. It went from being 300 kilometers off the coast to 1,100. All right, that's almost 4 times distance, man. They had to get way back, man. Getting out of there. So America doesn't have any of the advantages that it's used to having during war, man. Okay, so let's get this. All right, segue to another video. Let me cue this up. So let's go here. Because those aircraft carriers are only, all right, a factor if they're able to be near. Okay, they have to be at least, within, 200 miles of an enemy's coastline. Okay, but you're talking about 900 miles away. Okay, because those fighter jets can only go so far before they have to get a refuel, and then Iran been striking those refuel tankers, man. Okay, so this is going nowhere near. All right, how these let's go here. How these devils really wanted to go. They know it was going to be a fight and some resistance, but they didn't know it was going to spiral into this. And now, all right, critical infrastructure. Okay, they done escalated to striking critical infrastructure. Now, this is the brother of Mark Abal. All right, Ecclesiastes 10:16 said, "Woe to thee, O land, all right, when thy child, all right, so it's like when thy king is a child, and thy princes eat in the morning. Okay, so this is what we're seeing. All right, is that it's a childish. You know, Esau is a childish leader. Okay, and this is the elites as well. Okay, it started from the elites. Like I say Trump is just a mascot of the foolishness of Esau Edom. Okay, he's just a logo. All right, the face of it, man. When he represents the foolishness, all right, of Esau Edom, especially dealing with the leadership, the ruling class, man. Okay, woe to thee, O land, with your destruction, man. And all this foolishness is going to get a whole landmass erased off the earth, man, which is America, man. Okay, all this irresponsible, foolish, okay, wicked decision that's being made is going to get America erased off the map. Okay, with you people in it. Okay, so your rulers are playing foolish games, and they're going to win a foolish prize. Okay, which is a nuclear holocaust, man. This is Job 20:5, Warriors of Yahweh 144. It said Job 25. It said that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment, man. And we at the end of this nigga moment. Okay, we at the end of Esau's moment. Okay, you see, we're at the very end of this nigga moment, man. You see, and he's trying to scramble and extend this moment. All right, but he has walked into the snare of the Most High by trying to extend his rulership. All he did was walk into the snare of the Most High. Okay. Yep, and let's get this too. In Baruch Shah, we can get this in the NLT, bro. Oh, I meant to say NLT as well. We'll read this one too. It's the Warriors for Yahweh Shah 144. Isaiah 43:14 said, "Thus said the Lord, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel." See, the Lord getting ready to redeem his people, man. Okay, and he's causing Esau to crash out because the Lord is going to redeem his people in the midst of this destruction and this chaos that's being caused, man. Okay, for your sake, you see. So the Lord has Esau crashing out for the sake of the elect, man. Okay, the scripture say, "For the elect's sake, I will take the time. I will take the time short." Or brother want to post it, you know, Matthew 24:22, I believe. Okay. Or you can post 21 and 22, Bible shot. Isaiah 43:14 said, "Thus said the Lord, all right, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, for your sake I have sent to Babylon and have brought down all their nobles." Okay, so we're seeing the leadership being dismantled, man. You best believe there's infighting going on amongst these devils about how things are going, man. You know, these devils are still going to attempt to manipulate, you know, and you know, finesse a new world order out of this, man. But it's gonna fail. Okay, it's bound to fail, man. We're just waiting for this nigga to fail. Really, we're just waiting on Esau to fail, and we're seeing them failing. And it's beautiful to try to see this nigga, you know, get his balance, man. Okay, this nigga is staggering, man, like a drunk man. He's trying to get his balance, man. Okay, he's trying to stop the inevitable, man, which is his fall. Okay, it says, and the Chaldeans whose cry, okay, is in their ships, you know, because they boast in their ships. They boast in their military, especially their navy, especially those aircraft carriers and those strike groups, man. Okay, so let's go from there. Let's get this. Let's play this because, like I said, they're beginning to strike one another's critical infrastructure. Okay, which is going to cause unrest, civil unrest, man. Okay, and American infrastructure not gonna go unscathed, man. You best believe these devils. All right, they're gonna sabotage, okay, American infrastructure, man. Okay, to create chaos, man. Okay, so any day now, man, any day now, this thing can be thrust into a whole another phase, man. You know. So let's play this.
What happened this afternoon in occupied Palestine is nothing short of a catastrophic strategic disaster for the regime in Tel Aviv. We are witnessing, live, the complete and utter collapse of the security mythology that Benjamin Netanyahu sold to his people and to the world. Let's get straight to the visuals. Haifa Bay is currently shrouded in a thick black plume of smoke so dense you can see it from satellite imagery. That smoke is billowing from the Haifa refinery, Israel's largest and most critical energy artery.
An Iranian missile has hit the Israeli oil refinery in the northern port city of Haifa.
Iran hits Haifa's oil refinery. 9 times in a single day, missiles rained on northern Israel.
Thick black smoke engulfed Haifa Bay on Wednesday, sparking fears of a direct hit on Israel's Bazan oil refinery, the country's largest and a key hub for fuel and petrochemical production.
After a direct, precise strike by the Iranian military during the 64th wave of Operation True Promise 4, this wasn't just a symbolic attack. This was surgical. Reports flooding in from the ground indicate that multiple missiles bypassed what was left of Israel's air defense network and slammed directly into processing units and storage tanks at the refinery complex. Immediate reports from the Haifa municipality confirm widespread power outages across the region. We are hearing that the electricity grid in the north has been severely compromised. But the most terrifying detail emerging right now is the fear of a toxic leak. The Haifa refinery isn't just about gasoline. It's a petrochemical behemoth. If the strikes have compromised the catalytic crackers or the aromatic units, which they have, we are looking at the potential release of benzene, mercury, and other carcinogens into the atmosphere over a densely populated metropolitan area. The Red Crescent and local environmental agencies are likely scrambling to assess damage that could render parts of Haifa uninhabitable for weeks. This is the price of occupation. Before we dive deeper into the numbers and the sheer political humiliation this represents for Netanyahu and his ally Donald Trump, I need to ask you for a second. I put hours into researching and scripting this update to bring you the facts that corporate media is too scared to touch. If you believe in honest journalism that doesn't just regurgitate Pentagon press releases, hit that like button. Share this video far and wide. We need to overwhelm the algorithm with the truth. And please, drop a comment. It can be a dot if you're busy, but better yet, tell me where you're watching from and whether you think Netanyahu can survive this week. Your engagement is the only thing keeping independent voices like this alive in a sea of censorship. Subscribe right now if you want to stay ahead of this rapidly breaking story. Let's talk about the numbers, because statistics matter when you are trying to grasp the magnitude of a collapse. The Haifa refinery, operated by the Bazan Group, isn't just another facility. It is the economic engine of the Israeli entity. The complex process approximately 9.8 million tons of crude oil annually, with a daily refining capacity pushing 197,000 barrels. To put that in perspective for you, that facility alone supplies between 60% to 70% of the occupied territory's domestic fuel needs, specifically diesel and gasoline. We aren't talking about a scratch on the surface. We are talking about a hemorrhaging wound to the economy. If you are looking at the Nelson Complexity Index, which measures the sophistication of a refinery, Haifa scores a 9 out of 10, meaning it's one of the most advanced in the region, capable of producing high-value outputs like polypropylene and aromatics for the plastics and textile industries. So, what happens when you take that offline? You are looking at an immediate strangulation of supply chains. The Israeli shekel is going to take a nosedive. Fuel rationing will have to be implemented. But the destruction isn't just limited to the refinery itself. Adjacent to these refining units is the Haifa Refinery Power Station, a 118-megawatt facility that runs primarily on natural gas and provides critical captive power to the industrial zone. When that goes dark, it creates a cascade failure. It doesn't just shut down the refinery, it shuts down the ability to run the refinery. But it gets worse. Just down the coast in Hadera sits the Orot Rabin Power Station, one of the largest power plants in the region, with a massive installed capacity of approximately 2,650 megawatts. This plant supplies a huge chunk of the electricity grid. While initial reports focus on the refinery, The proximity of these strikes suggests that the energy grid as a whole is in the crosshairs. If the grid in the north is damaged, as confirmed by an Israeli minister, you are looking at millions of people sitting in the dark. The economic cost? We are talking billions of shekels in damage and lost revenue, not to mention the global spike in oil prices we are already seeing, with Brent crude spiking past $110 a barrel. Now, we have to address the elephant in the room: the complete and utter failure of the much-hyped Iron Dome system. For years, Western media has propped up this system as an impenetrable shield. Netanyahu put all his faith and his nation's treasury into these interceptors. He became belligerent. He became arrogant. He believed he could assassinate leaders in Tehran and strike the South Pars gas field with impunity, assuming his American-funded defenses would catch any incoming retaliation. Well, the math doesn't lie. Reports from U.S. officials leaked to outlets like Semaphore and confirmed by sources on the ground indicate that Israel quickly its interceptor missile inventory. During the earlier phases of this conflict, they burned through thousands of these expensive interceptors. They didn't have the stockpiles replenished when they decided to escalate. And here's the kicker. The Iranian military adapted. They are using missiles equipped with cluster warheads, munitions that disperse dozens of submunitions in midair. You cannot shoot down 50 incoming objects with 2 interceptors. The math simply doesn't work. That is why this afternoon you see smokestacks burning in Haifa instead of clean footage of interceptions. The dome has cracked. And where is the great savior? Where is Donald Trump? We see him threatening to massively blow up Iranian energy infrastructure from the safety of the White House. But while he is tweeting threats, his allies' country is burning.
So you see, this attack on, critical infrastructure, okay, which is going to cause major, power outages, okay, dealing with water, dealing with, the economy, because there's going to be certain jobs that work off these power grids, okay. So this as they're going at each other's infrastructure, man, this is going to cause massive damage, okay, to the masses of people, man. This is going to bring about a suffering, man, and this is beautiful, and this is the Lord judging, man. All right, because these small hats, man, hey, the Lord getting active, man, and both sides are, taking losses, okay, because they're attacking Iran's critical infrastructure too. This is what caused Iran to attack theirs, okay. So judgment is going forth, man. All right, and in the midst of this, you best believe these devils, all right, they're gonna use this escalation, okay, for a reason to sabotage America's critical infrastructure, man. And they have a scapegoat now, Iran, all right, Russia and China, but mainly Iran at this point, So this is what things have escalated to these last couple of days, man. Like I said, they're climbing this escalation level. They got to this point in a very short time. So it's just interesting to see these things, continue to play out. All right. Now, let's go here. I'll just get these last few. Okay. But going back to, American Navy, man, it doesn't have, all right, the effect. Okay. You can't have an effect when it's retreat. Okay. Isaiah 43:14 in NLT, warriors for Yahushua. This is what the Lord says, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. For your sakes, I will send an army against Babylon, forcing the Babylonians to flee in those ships they are so proud of, man. Okay. So they in their mind, Esau thought, the elites thought they were sick in this mighty American military might on Iran, but the Lord was sick in Iran on the small hats, man, on America, man. Okay, which Iran is just a vessel being used because, all right, their military is going to be destroyed at the coming of Yahushua as well. Okay, and their, all right, surviving population is going to go into captivity as well. Okay, and they're just a vessel that's being used by the Most High to achieve prophecy, man. Okay, along with these other nations that's gonna get involved. Okay, so let's go here. And then also that last video I put up as well. The last video I put on the comment, there was that interview between Tucker Carlson and Joe Kent. All right, it was that nigga demon too, Joe Kent. Okay, I watched a little bit of it, about 20, 30 minutes. It's 2 hours long. So I plan on watching some more. We might tap into it. Our Rogers in the morning, the Lord will. But let's go here. And we end it here, man. Warriors of Yahushua 144. Matthew 24 and 22 says, except those days be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Okay, so except the Lord shorten the days, which he's going to shorten the days by sending Yahushua, because Yahushua is going to end this war by waging war in righteousness, man. Okay, he's going to come and end the war by waging a war in righteousness. Okay, and destroying all the militaries of the earth, man. Okay, and these heathens will be put in captivity, beginning with the elites. Okay, so for the elect's sake, the Lord is getting ready. He's shortening the days. He's speeding up the time. All right, and he's getting ready to send Yahushua, man, to bring an end, all right, to the chaos, man. Okay, so we'll leave it there. Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you few sisters edified once again. Going to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Makakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS. Rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful Shalom.